No more and no less. No trends and no compromise. Posers leave the hall when SexMag fudge you with their sexual metal. Their words, not mine. SexMag,
They say
Sexorcyzm.
that, did they?
Yeah, I found it on one of their old releases, and I thought it was a great thing to suggest at the start.
I thought you written it, John. I was really impressed.
No, that's all. That's all SexMag's
That's all
original.
Sex Mag.
Yeah, so this is the debut full length. They had a sort of mini album out in 2021, but this is the first full length
Do you think you can
studio
say full
album.
length when it comes to Sex Mag?
Yeah, bleep that one. I'm gonna just say it full length again. Sexorcyzm, their first studio album from Polish proto-black-metal thrash band SexMag. Any had you heard of this band before, Mike?
No, man, not. I hadn't heard of the dirty buggers until you sent them my way.
So I only found out about this band roughly, just a quick little introduction. I follow an artist on Instagram, and he did the cover for this album, and I was so invested by just seeing the cover that I was like, I have to check this band out. I think this is probably one of the best metal artworks of the year, maybe of the decade, potentially of all time. I think this is such a great cover.
God, you going that far with it?
It's incredible, man. I think it's iconic immediately.
You think it is?
I think if like an 80s band had done that, it would be spoken about as being one of the best.
That's true, actually. Like when you think of the timing of it, if this did come out in the 80s with that artwork, it would probably have been quite controversial. You probably think as well, because of that time of thrash metal and how there was that kind of excitement of it being a brand new thing, it probably would have been quite big. If you know what I
Yeah.
mean, it probably would have been a little bit more thrust into the spotlight. Whereas obviously with SexMag coming out now, they're kind of, probably more in an underground sort of capacity. I
Yeah.
see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah, definitely go check out the artwork. Well, check out the band as well, but the artwork will pull you in, and if it doesn't, well, then they're obviously not for you. Where to start, Mike? How do you feel about this proto thrash black metal take?
What? That it's incredibly sexual.
No, the album overall.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you just meant their sort of thing, which is kind of like it's like a black and thrash fucking Mills and Boone, isn't it? Jackie Collins wrote the lyrics.
Have you read the lyrics? Are they English?
No, well, I haven't read the lyrics, but from what I could hear vocally, it sounds like they're Polish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Polish. I think it's but they've got a concept, haven't they? They've got a theme. That much is
Yes.
sure.
And
Let
they're
me have a
they're
look at
rolling with
them.
it.
I want to have. Do you know what? I want to have a look at them.
Um,
I want to see how well they do in that regard.
what?
It's a big part of their thing.
You think they're out getting groupies every night, or just kind of in the basements?
Well, wait. Let me have a look. I found a picture of him.
Yep.
I mean, I'd say this is gonna be. I'd say that they might spend more time watching it on the internet than.
Maybe it's
But they
not.
probably do
Maybe
all
this,
right. They probably do all right.
listen, maybe it's
Who am
not
I to
sex
judge?
in the sense that you're thinking about it, but then they are fudging you with their sex metal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what fudging means.
Stop trying to
I
demonetize,
don't want to
Mike.
ruin. No, because it's all good fun.
Yeah.
Good for them.
All right. So, how do you actually feel about it?
I I had a pretty good time with this album. I liked the overall vibe with they were this sort of kind of proto throwback. It was thrash, but there was a sort of a blackened element to it. I thought his vocals were really good. I liked the sound of his voice a lot, and I think I read the drummer does backing vocals, and he was kind of his part. I thought added a nice little layer when he brought it in and would bring it in at good points. I don't think I would go back to this album though. That's the only thing. There wasn't anything too memorable and standout for me on it. That was the problem I had with it. The vibe was good, but there wasn't enough there to keep me interested.
I'm in a similar boat. I think like straight away, the opening track intro, Total Metal. I was like, okay, I'm loving this. It was a really like spooky synthy uh build up, and then you had this kind of like discordant piercing synth that would come in with these kind of like chains rattling, and I thought, okay, like this is really gonna like hit when it
I
kicks
love
in.
that. So just about that one though, I love that it's all like total metal and like it's it's not metal in the slightest. It's more kind of reminded me of like old school cinema kind of soundtrack
Yeah,
kind of things, what cinematic, but in like that sort of old school kind of way. I thought it was really
yeah,
good. Yeah,
kind of Masters of Horror type deal.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was no, it's really cool. Like, I loved that, and I thought, okay, sweet. And then it goes into track two, Incubus, and it was straight off the bat like really great opening riff, like thrashy first wave black metal. It even like the drumming that falls slightly out of time as well, which I actually really enjoyed. It gave this
yeah.
kind of like old school charm. Whether that was intentional or not, I didn't really care. I quite enjoyed it. Um,
It was quite sloppy, wasn't it? Overall, the kind of performance of it, and I felt like some of it as well. I don't know about you, felt a bit lethargic in places. Like it almost felt like some of the slow bits were a bit too slow.
oh, I didn't.
But I didn't mind it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
mind it because it all kind of worked in that sort of throwback kind of way.
Yeah, it just gave it a kind of like rawness and a
Yeah.
kind of like it was almost like a sleaziness to it in a weird
Hmm.
way that kind of fits with their sound. I think you're right in terms of like they've nailed like tone and aesthetics and like and overall sound. But it's I also agree with what you're saying. Like there wasn't anything that was you were like, I need to hear that again.
Yeah.
Um I think they some songs kind of threw too many ideas into the mix. And I think that it kind of worked better when they were sort of a bit more to the point. I think possibly track like an example of that track five. Um, it was the longest song on the album, and it was kind of like they were throwing a lot of ideas in, which I didn't mind, but it just kind of went from like bit to bit to bit to bit to bit. Whereas like the track after, Sorry Cornitu, uh, track six, was like a lot more concise, and it was almost like the complete opposite of that. And it was like really evil, like pretty fast, and it had a really catchy chorus hook. And I think in those moments is when they kind of shine more than maybe trying to do a bit too much.
I want to get the track listing up because I think I know the bits you're on about, and I agree because I think what did you just say? Suri.
Track six, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think.
Cornitu.
Oh, well, I think that was my highlight, and the
Yeah,
song you were talking about before. I remember thinking when it started, I remember thinking this is the best song I've heard on it so far. But
yeah,
then as the song went on, you're right. It sort of changed. There was other stuff going on. I thought this has meandered a little bit.
yeah,
And I remember the beginning of it being really good, like really good, some really good riffs in there, some really good parts. But as you said, it then sort of they were adding more and more parts to it, and it ended up becoming this song that hasn't really done much of what they were doing at the beginning, and it's just sort of like running through ideas. And I think in this kind of proto kind of black and thrash type thing, for me, I kind of prefer it when bands keep that sort of stuff quite simple and just focus on a few good riffs and just getting those bits so right. Do you know what I mean? And then using like a solo or something to kind of vary it instead of
yeah.
having to throw so many ideas and different parts in there. Because unless those parts are all killer and they really work with one another, you can end up with a bit of a mess. And especially if you're going for like a raw kind of production, and
Yeah.
stuff, and the production and the maybe the performance is almost intentionally a little bit kind of sloppy and things like that. Those sections and those changes don't always work that well.
No, I'm in the complete agreement, man. I think they definitely work best when they kind of keep it to the point. I want to touch as well on track seven, Psalm one. I think that was also maybe another like favorite of mine. I think six and seven worked really well together. You had like a really nice, clean, picked intro with like this kind of distorted lead that came over the top. It was kind of like the first time they did that. But the track had like a slower it was like a slower feel to it. Almost kind of reminded me of something like Slayer, Seasons in the Abyss era type thing. And they introduced this kind of like sung vocal towards the end that was like, it was kind of like a punk. There was like a harsh punk sung
Hmm.
vocal,
Yeah.
and I think it was maybe the first time that you hear it on the album. But I wanted more of it. Like I think it worked really well with their sound, and I just think that they could have incorporated that a touch more throughout.
Well, that song definitely felt quite different to the rest, didn't it? Because it was a slower pace all the way through, longer. It had and I think it was well placed on the album where it was put.
Yeah,
Um, and then you had like the final song, which was the title track, um, which was then kind of a bit more of what was coming before the other one to finish. I
yeah.
think I think the album's great in the sense that it's, what is it, 8 songs or something. I mean,
Eight
can,
songs. Yeah, eight songs, 39 minutes. I think good length.
it is, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. You got to be careful saying lengths and stuff on this one. It's always going to make me titter, and saying the word titter as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I Yeah, I think yeah, it was because I mean, John, can you imagine if they'd gone for it for like 12 songs? So
Yeah, it would have too much.
yeah, it would have been too much. This is just one of those albums for me that, like, it was there in that sense, and what they would, on paper, what they were doing is something I really liked, but the songs just didn't quite do it for me. I could not see myself going back to this and like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
any real
strange one,
urge to.
man. Yeah, no, it's a strange one because I feel the same, but like when I was listening, for example, I think Incubus track 2 was like an also really good song, and they did kind of throw a lot of ideas into that one, but it seems to sort of work. But I wasn't left like wanting to hear it again, and no part of it was kind of memorable. But then like I loved the sound, I loved the
Yeah,
riffs, I loved the kind of production. Like it's almost as if they've nailed everything to a point, and then they just need to maybe like not be a bit more concise, but just find that one little hook that is just going to like kind of get in and bring you back.
I found a lot of the riffs very samey throughout, and I felt like they were lacking in kind of there wasn't very memorable
Remember?
ones, and or memorable sections as well. Like, I just can't really remember any of the album that much, but I did like all the components of it. I thought,
Yeah,
especially his vocals, I thought I really liked the sound of his voice, and I thought it was really good. I thought that was a standout for me.
yeah. No, I think vocals were probably like the tip of the record, and I think I did like the guitar work. I think the like some of the solos were really good. I did like the riffs. They just kind of came and went quite quickly though. Like I felt like there could have been a bit more grandeur around them, and like maybe something to just kind of really hammer home. Like,
Well, they're a lot
oh,
of
this song.
they quite like single notey sort of riffs. There's a lot, or not sing, but like, like where you're kind of doing the chord, but then doing some kind of accent of like the
Yeah,
melody line of the riff on there. Was a lot of that kind of style going. Very very old school, wasn't it?
yeah. It was very
Yeah,
proto black metal. Like you had the kind of like Bathory and early Bathory kind of vibe,
yeah,
but there was a lot of like early Metallica worship in there as well, man.
yeah, 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 yeah,
The end of Psalm 1 was basically just rip off of For Whom the Bell Tolls. You even had the bells going with it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But
They
I didn't mind that.
their solos as well. They were really like reverb drenched as well,
Yeah, I loved the
which I
production. I thought
liked. Yeah,
yeah, I thought the production was great. I thought the bass sit really well in the mix because you could hear it really clearly. It had that really old school sound to it, which was
yeah.
really cool. But yeah, man, I think this is definitely one to check out if you are a fan of like first wave black metal and like old school thrash. I think this will definitely tick a lot of boxes. I'd be keen to know like what people think if they kind of stick around for more or whatnot. But yeah, if you like what you heard, give us a subscribe because we put out videos every Wednesday and Friday covering the latest metal releases. Give a like and subscribe, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.